I think that the new agenda, Agenda 2030, is first of all much more comprehensive in its approach than the old Millennium Development Goals. I think this is a big step forward. Secondly, I think that in assessing the agenda, it's very important also to bear in mind that there was by international standards, a relatively inclusive discussion process that produced these ideas. Thirdly, I think it is very, very important that this time, linked to questions of ending poverty, human rights, environmental safeguards, that you also have the questions of peace, security and stability, and the chance for everybody to live in safety and security. Because all of these things are preconditions for each other. So if you focus on one at the expense of any others, over time there is obviously a clear risk that the whole agenda begins to weaken. And this suggests that the agenda sets a very, very significant challenge for all of us, which is how to work together from our different peace-building, environmental development, human rights, so on, groups, for an agenda of interlinked objectives. And I think that the success of the agenda will depend on cooperation and interlinkage. And I think it's a very, very exciting prospect, but of course it is not guaranteed to be successful. So it will take hard work. I think you need to look at the big picture here. There were 30 armed conflicts in 2010 compared to 50 in 1990. There are now about 40 going on. So after 2 decades of, relatively speaking, the expansion of the zone of peace throughout the world, the last half decade has seen some of those gains eliminated, and we see new places going through war, going through quite terrifying violence. We see some places where there has been violence for a long period, we have seen that escalating and the problems becoming more and more entrenched. And we see an international community which seems less and less able to address those problems. I think one thing which is important is that the international community, such as to the degree that it is actually a community, which is very questionable, but the big powers have really, if they want a more peaceful world, they have got to stop making it more conflictual and more dangerous. They have to moderate their behavior. I think the second thing is that if we want a more peaceful world, we need a world which is more just, more fair, in which inequality isn't growing. So there's another major and big change which needs to be made. I think in addition to that, if we want a more peaceful world, we also want a world in which the climate is not changing so as fast as it is going to on present projections. So there are these big changes in policy which need to be made. And then I think after that comes, we need to think about focusing somewhat more resources onto peace building and long-term work to improve the peace prospects of many countries. I think we need to work on increasing our knowledge and our understanding and our ability to work in these different places. And I think we need to work on ourselves and work with our partners to allow more space for local voices to be heard and for them to take the lead in shaping their own future. And if we can get those things right, and if the big picture issues begin to change as well, then we will make sustainable progress towards a more peaceful world, I'm sure of it. My feeling is, and in this I probably disagree with quite many people, I don't really think that there are specific parts of the peace-building agenda which are wrong. So I wouldn't say, for example, one should do less with states I wouldn't say that the economy is less important than people have generally thought it to be. I think that reform in the security sector is enormously important. I think that most of what needs to be rethought, most of what needs to be changed is how we implement those different parts of the peace-building agenda and how we ensure that that there is the opportunity for peace to be built by those who are the only force who can build the peace. Outsiders cannot build peace in a country. From the outside, you can help, but peace is built by the people who are going to most benefit from it, and that is those who live in the country. So that the key thing is that they must have the space and the capacity, the resources and the skills, and we can help with providing some of those things, but they must lead the process of building peace.